So on that note, it's now time for our second keynote for the day, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for this keynote is your engagement strategy future-proof by design? And for this, please join me in welcoming Raj Tanwar, who's Chief Strategy Officer and Head HR at Advantage Club on stage. Raj will unveil some of the best practices for designing a future-ready engagement strategy and how we can create a culture of recognition that attracts and retains top talent. So let's have a round of applause for Raj. Raj, over to you now.
Thank you, Yasmin. A very good morning to all of you. Morning. A little louder. A very good morning to all of you. Morning. Thank you. And thank you, Francis, for such a beautiful session and emphasizing on future of work, what we need. When we try to understand who we are today, we reflect back on our past and we look at what happened. But when we try to look ahead, we certainly look at what future lies in us. And one of the most important and essential things that we need to think, if you do not plan, if you do not organize yourself, and if you do not work towards future, believe you me, you do not have any future. And there's so much talked about future of work, am I right? Today, we are going to talk about a very, very critical aspect, engagement. All of you sitting here are my HR colleagues. How many of you have been into HR business partner role? Can you raise your hands? Into the HR business partner roles? A lot of you. And how many of you have actually worked towards employee engagement? If you could just raise your hands a little up. Wonderful. So this topic is going to be relevant for a lot of you sitting here. Engagement is a very, very wide term when we use. For somebody, reading a book means engagement. For somebody, working long hours is an engagement. For somebody, cutting birthday cakes and going for party is an engagement. It's a very, very different and a wide term. But it's very, very essential to know that I think I need a help with the presentation. It's not working. Okay. But what differentiates engagement from any other concept is that you might be a great company to work, but you will not be able to retain great talent if they are not engaged and they are not recognized. And I'll give you a small little example. As a HR head of a very, very large company, many of you know I used to work for Concentrix earlier, which is also here in Philippines. I was the head of HR for India and 7 other countries. I've met one of my employees and I asked them, what happened? Why you're quitting the organization? And he said, I joined because I feel that it's a great organization to work. But when I'm with my team, I don't feel engaged. And that is the reason I'm quitting. And that is one of the big challenges that all of us we have as HR professionals, that how do we engage our people? How do we engage our staff? And look at future forward, how these things are going to change. So let's look at the concept a little more deeper, because we all know numbers, am I right? So when we look at numbers, only 2% of the workforce globally are actively engaged at work. 21%, sorry, I think there's a... And when you talk about Asia as specific, the number is 3% more higher. 24% people are in South Asia just engaged at the level that they should be. And the study is actually done by Gallup. And after pandemic, it's been talked about that more than 50% people would still be working from home. And in the time coming ahead, this number would keep on changing a little bit up and down. Engagement becomes very, very difficult because there are some people in office, there are some people from home. Hybrids are the future. That's how it's going to be. Can you please change the slide? Yeah. So let's look at now of engagement. And can you please change the slide? Yeah, so let's look at now of engagement. Our workforce are globally dispersed. They're everywhere, am I right? I remember, in fact, even in my present company, Advantage Club, we operate in more than 100 countries across the globe. And there's so much of dispersed workforce which is there. There are digital workplaces that have come. Authority versus autonomy. There are a lot of people who say that I contribute, that matters most. It does not matter from where am I contributing. And a very famous thing what people say is work is what we do, not from where I do. It should not matter. There are a couple of more things which are impacting engagement of today, which is attrition. There are people who are recognizing internally. Earlier, it used to be only a recognition or an engagement from an employer versus employee, but nowadays within team, the engagement matters. There are engagement benefits that people look at that engages people at work, and gig economy and moonlighting are some new concepts which are impacting the present engagement scenario. So let's look at how the future of work is, or how the future of engagement is going to look like. So let me first challenge a very basic fundamental called as work. And there is so much of advancement of technology that has happened. You will be surprised to know I'm also a part of Forbes Human Resources Global Council, where we are challenging the basic word called as work. In time coming ahead, there will be nothing called as work. It will only be called as contribution or the value that you are adding to the company. So the word work is going to eliminate, because this comes from the industrial era, as Francis was also saying. When it was way back, the industrial revolution happened, the definition of work came in. Today we are new age, new technology-based employees. So the definition of work would change, and it will be called as either value or contribution. The second is tools that will replace processes. The word employee itself will be challenged in time coming ahead. And I personally feel that employee as a word would be replaced by skills, time, and value that you will give to your employer. And very soon you would see AI, which has already come in. We all know about artificial intelligence. Since ChatGPT, Bard, and a couple of other AI have come, how our workplaces have changed. The last and most important, and there are three more that I'll pick up, is you don't know what is going to be the next pandemic look like. We were not prepared for it in 2020 when it happened. So are we prepared for it in the time coming ahead? And as engagement, as HR leaders, you need to be prepared for it. It is a very, very uncertain word. The workforce is very, very agile. People who work for you today, you do not know where you will end up meeting them tomorrow. They may be working part-time, or they may be working full-time, or they may even work as a consultant for you. What matters is how much of value that I'm giving back to the company, and in return, what is company giving me? You will see this happening in the future of work. People with higher degree of skills, higher degree of creativity, higher degree of understanding of technology would demand higher and flexible benefit packages. Most important, your talent management will become mentally engaging if you want to retain them for a longer time. And this is how the future of engagement is going to look like, and it's shaping the future. Now, let's look at the next concept, which even Francis talked about, that why would people stay for you? So I'll give you a small little example, and you will connect with it. And I'm sure all of you sitting here, it's a small little story that I'll share with you. And a question that I have for all of you. How many of you sitting here remembers your exact paycheck that you got 6 months back? You need to tell me exact figure, how much did you get? And if yes, do you remember your paycheck that you got last year, exactly the same month? Do you remember the exact number and value? No, am I right? If someone of you sitting here would know, must be a brilliant, I don't remember that, for sure. So that's one question. The second is, 5 years back when your appraisal happened, performance appraisal happened, how much of hike did you get? How much of percentage increase or a promotion you get? I think maybe 5 or 10% of you would remember what I'm saying. But if I tell you, do you remember your first manager who gave you your award? Do you remember that? I'm sure most of you would say yes. That's the power of reward, and that's the power of recognition. Recognition remembers with you forever. You forget your paycheck, but you never forget an appreciation or a recognition that your company or your manager has given you. And that's the immense power of recognition sometimes we undermine. You don't pay that well, understand. Still people work for great companies because they have been recognized year after year. So that's the power of recognition. And there are a couple of insights that I have mentioned here, which talk about how do you ensure that great recognition is there in place. Can you move forward? I'll talk about a couple of statistics here and help you understand that why in engagement you see a lot of tech here. Can any one of you guess what is the average age of Asia, workforce in Asia? Can any one of you guess? Average age of people in Asia who's working, who are employed right now? 32, yes, you're absolutely right. It's 31.7. Can you take a guess what it is in Europe? Absolutely correct. It's 44. And if you consider the same way in US, it's 38. Asia is one of the youngest population in the world. We have a lot of baby boomers, we have Gen Z, Gen Y, millennials on all kind. They are breeding and living on technology. And if you do not infuse tech in reward, the effectiveness would not come. On an average, you will be surprised to know that a person spends more than 22 hours in a week on a phone, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on many other stuff that you. So the consumption of technology in baby boomers in Asia is the highest. And that's how recognition also should be in the time coming ahead in the future of work. If you want your organization to be foolproof by design, to manage the future of work, you need to have futuristic reward that people acknowledge. Because they don't want to receive an award just in front of 10 people. They want to receive an award in front of those 500 connections that they have on Facebook, that 2,000 connections they have on LinkedIn, so on and so forth. So you need, first of all, an automation. What automation does is automation gives you fairness in the process. People believe that it's fair, it's honest, and there's no bias behind it. Gamification promotes that they do more every time they look at it. Metaverse, though it's kind of nowadays talked and mixed, but metaverse is the future and it's going to come back. That's what we believe. Virtual recognition, same like the way we are standing here. Virtually, you would see people will be recognized and we have this platform. NFTs, we all know, am I right? It's going to be essential. It's all about me. When you have an NFT token attached to your reward, it stays with you forever in your life because that NFT is given to you forever. And that's how the future of reward is going to look like. Now, are we ready to face the future? Let's look at it. A very important study we did with more than, I would say, around 500 HR leaders where we spoke to them and we said, what are your top 3 challenges? And what you see here on the screen are the top 3 challenges that they told us. That one, yeah, we really want to do a lot of engagement work, but we don't know which technology should we adopt. 2, what strategy that we should take in place so that we move the needle from A to B. And 3, what is the structure of this entire strategy is going to look like? An emotional quotient is a very, very important aspect of it. So let's try to decode it and understand how do we meet these challenges ahead. So one of the important challenge also other than what I just quoted here is belongingness, because technology, one of the biggest barrier of technology is belongingness. And you have different issues within an organization which includes diversity, equity, inclusion. So that's one. The second is AI is learning, but it's not learning fast enough. We see a lot of changes happening and it's happening in fragmentation, and that is creating kind of an issue because there is no fixed solution. You'll be surprised to know that engagement industry globally is an $800 billion industry only in software, and it is growing at a 17% CAGR. But when employees are disengaged, they are likely to leave faster. So how do we become future ready? Let me talk about a couple of concepts there. Can you move forward? So first, a very, very important aspect, I see hybrids as the future of work. When I say hybrid means what? Working from home, working from home. You would see people would change in time ahead. They will not just take paychecks. They will also agree to settle for something else. So like you give me my 80% compensation and for 20% invest in my learning and development. You would see models being changed. Hybrids are everywhere that you look at it. 10 years back, if I would have talked about our cars that we drive, nobody thought of a battery-driven car, am I right? We have hybrids already. In banking system, if you look at it, there are already hybrids. Hybrids are also going to impact the future of work and engagement. That means there are people working from home, there are people working in office. You need to engage both. Strategic innovation driven by technology. Nobody had an idea about ChatGPT till November. November 2022, a software came and changed the history. Is the fastest adopted software ever built in the history of mankind. And that's the disruption technology is going to bring in. Focus on big picture. Just do not focus on numbers all the time. Look at the purpose for which organization is built and build your engagement strategy around it. Can you move to the next slide, please? Rethink of tool that measures work. Just do not measure work. Also measure the value that I said. People will not be asking, who do you work for? They will ask, what do you contribute and how do you add value to your organization? Transform the way the work looks like. You need to have a lot of human touch at work. Alone technology is not going to help. You have to have focus on human being, well-being, and so on and so forth. Flexibility is going to be the ask from employees. They will come and ask you flexibility for everything, whether it's work, whether it's engagement, whether it's support. Each day comes as a new challenge. You need to be prepared for it. You need to just do not look at past. You need to look at future fundamentally different. And most important, I would say, and that's the error I did, and I tried it and it worked for me. Measure happiness quotient of your people. Don't measure attrition. We do measure attrition every time and look at it and think that people who are there, who are staying with us, are engaged. They are not engaged with you. And engagement is all about happiness at work. So start measuring happiness. There are tools which are available where you measure happiness. And believe you me, as HR leaders, if you have not started doing it, globally there are organizations who have hired happiness managers, happiness head. This position is going to be the future where you see happiness being tracked, not just attrition anymore. So how do we achieve this? There are a couple of points that I would say that. One, I have seen people who are not the best paid, but they are the most engaged staff. Why? Because they have been recognized time to time. So align reward with your goals in the organization that you have. People would appreciate that every time they achieve a goal, they are rewarded, they feel engaged about it. Consider different kind of awards, and I'll share with you what those awards in the coming slide. Make rewards very transparent and fair so that people believe they have earned it. It's not conferred on them. A reward system has to be evaluated on a yearly basis. Can you imagine our performance is evaluated yearly? Then why a reward system once made is never re-looked back again? So you need to look back at that. Announce reward in advance so that people start preparing for it and they mentally get prepared for it, saying that I want to get this award, I deserve it. Attach each reward to their performance and productivity at the same time. A reward not only for performance, but also for the culture, for the right behavior, for the values they demonstrate. And use R&R by design, not at will. What I mean by that is a lot of time it's considered as let's do a reward and recognition. Simply you call everybody, tell them that we have an award, and then you quickly start doing a patch there. People do understand that this was not something which was planned. An award which is planned in advance has a very high significance value. If you go back and look at the research globally, whenever there is an award which is announced in advance, that has higher degree of recognition and acceptance. Let's look at awards globally, Oscars or any other award that you talk about. They are pre-announced award that happens every year. When there is a pre-announced award, people look at it by design and strive to achieve it rather than which are announced on the spot do not have that kind of an importance and significance. So when do you give such awards? It's a very, very important and a critical question. You give award at moment that matters for people because that's add to employee experience and the future of work. So let's look at when there was a time when you used to post a job and people used to apply for it. But if you want to get a good talent, the talent says find me. They will not say hire me. They say find me and then hire me. Earlier it used to be hire me because there is a job that I have applied for it. That's a fundamental change. Today promotions. if you look at it, the talent is there. Either you recognize it or market will recognize it faster than you. Anniversary, recognition, last day, that even when people leave, just make sure that you create those moments that matters. I have seen organizations, yes, you'll be surprised to know, I've seen organization, I cannot name it here, one of my client, when people quit the company, on the day of quitting, they actually confer a small little award, or they give a kind of a badge to the person saying that this is what you meant to the organization. And believe you me, this person is your ambassador for the rest of the life. Because even on the last day, you gave something to the employee, and that's the human touch that you need to create for the future of work. So what employees want today? Employees want that you go beyond their basic needs. One size cannot fit all. You need to think about it. As I said, start planning for it and every minute. Validate the achievement that you are trying to win. Recognition from C-suite is very, very important. I remember 18 years back when I was my manager, I hired 300 people over a period of 2 months. I still remember my president HR flew all the way from his base, came to my location and conferred an award to me. I'll never be able to forget the president giving me an award. So C-suites need to join. You'll be surprised to know today, even peer-to-peer recognition matters a lot. You know, the people who say that, okay, my manager recognizes me every now and then. Has my colleague recognized me? Because that's your straight competition. And if they recognize, you value that. Next is a sense of belongingness. And every award that you give, it has to be branded well. It has to connect with people that it matters to me. A well-designed, human-centric entire reward scheme helps to connect with people faster. A fair and equity that I have picked up carries culture, ethos, and last important, personalized and impactful. That means when an award is given, the person will be able to share with more people, and that's what makes the difference at future at work. So last, most important, I'll just sum it up. An award has to be intentional by nature. That means you are giving it with purpose. Second is sometimes award can be even situational, where there is somebody who has solved a particular problem and then you're conferring that kind of an award. An award has to be motivational. That means a desirable. It's a very, very important trait. You give such kind of awards when people do well at their job. Culture, when somebody lives best of the value. Aspirational, when somebody is in best of the class. So these are 5 kind of key attributes when you look at future awards, the shape of awards going to look like. Can you move to the next and last slide, please? So this is my last slide. I would sum up by saying the future of work is very, very bright for us. If we plan, if we think, if we make sure that we co-create future together, it's very, very bright. And a very, very important aspect of that is reward and recognition, because reward drives human behavior. A reward motivates a person to go way and beyond. And at Advantage Club, we try to do exactly the same. We have a reward platform wherein all these attributes that I talked about, we serve more than 100 countries, more than 1,000 clients, and some of the best global Fortune 500 companies who we make sure that we work very closely with them in engaging them, and reward is just one part of them. So we are just here at the booth. Anyone of you are most invited to come and have a discussion. Thank you so much. I'm just up time. I'll not be able to take questions, but we're here. Very happy to meet any one of you. Thank you so much.